Dyslexa. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. Dyslexa. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.
Hello, good evening. I hope we've all had a wonderful day. So glad to have you all here again. It's episode 45 of Finding Out with Special Needs. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you for choosing to spend your Sunday evenings with us on Finding Out with Special Needs. And it's always an honor for me to realize that you guys come in every week in, week out, and it's week 45, episode 45. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Rita Budo. Thank you. Facebook, our websites, and the Academy website. Thank you so much for joining in. We truly appreciate you. Promises to be an exciting one as always this evening. If you've been in class, like we always call it, this is a learning platform for everyone that wants to know something about special needs. If you've been regular in class, a class member, a classmate actually said, it's like a classroom where we come to learn. So we'll be talking about estate management and administration. That was 3 weeks ago. We talked about that for children with special needs. And last week we talked about insurance for children with special needs. And this week we are talking about setting up a trust fund for a child with special needs. We have very well knowledgeable individuals that will be putting us through to this topic, and I'll be inviting them very soon. I hope we're all ready to learn today. Like I always do, I'm also a good student. I have my pen and my jotter. We're ready to learn. And I hope that all that we learn today and all that we've been learning so far, we'll be able to implement it in our relationship with individuals with special needs and their families. Again, it's episode 45 of Finding Out with Special Needs, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. Today's topic is setting up a trust fund for a child with special needs. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you for always doing your best to ensure that this show is an inclusive one. So thank you for those who have joined in and for those who will be joining us later on. The topic again is setting up a trust fund for a special need, for a child with special needs, sorry. So without much ado, I'll bring in our guests. Who will bring in first? Hello, Damilola. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Good to see you. How's it going today?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Good evening, Mr. Rotimi. Good to see you also.
Good evening, Lola.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
We all know what the topic is,
Sammy.
And we're excited to hear you both school us about how to set up a trust fund for a child with special needs. I have an understanding that a trust fund is not just for children with special needs, but most times we do not really pay attention to children with special needs. So today, we'd like to learn more about what a trust fund is, and then how can we set it up particularly to favor children with special needs. I would like Damilola to introduce herself again to us. She was with us last week and we had a great time with her. Please introduce yourself again to us for those who are just meeting you for the first time. And then Mr. Rotimi will go after you and then we'll take it up from there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Damilola Aneke. I'm a lawyer. I have 2 boys. One is on the autism spectrum. My son is 5 years old, and I got into this whole special needs thing when I found out that he was on the autism spectrum. And most importantly, it was such a big deal for me because financing special needs is such a big deal. And so I got interested and wanting to know how to set up my child's life for future because God forbid that we do die one day. I wanted to be sure that something, will be kept aside for him. Something will change. Someone will be there, and something will be there for him to be taken care of. So this is a conversation for me that is such a big deal that we don't really talk about. Most times we just talk about how to take care of them, while we're alive, and give them this medication and that therapy and this therapy. We really never talk about what happens if we die. And so this is a big conversation for me. So I can't wait to talk to you guys and share with you guys.
Very true. And you know that thing about our African culture, particularly in this part of the world, where we keep saying, God forbid, it's not going to happen. And we fail to plan for the future of our children, particularly children with special needs. So, like we said last week, that God forbid is not a plan. The plan is taking the steps to ensure that we actually have a good future. We ensure that we have a good future even when we're gone for our children, and particularly our children with special needs. Thank you so much, Damilola, for choosing to be with us again today. We truly appreciate your time. Over to you, Mr. Rotimi. Please introduce yourself to us. You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Rotimi.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely, loud and clear.
Much. Good evening one more time. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Rotimi Obende. I work with a financial institution, FBN Quest Trustees. We're into creating trust funds, like you said, particularly for individuals. Really, our major objective is ensuring that every single person that we come in contact with, we leave them better off in terms of the structuring and the advices that we give to them. I've been in the business of trust for close to 12 or more years. My relationship with Damilola opened my eyes in terms of people with special needs. And when we started to talk about people with special needs, if Damilola will remember, my whole attention and single attention had to do with people with disability, disabled people. And Damilola said, no, they are not disabled people. They are people with special needs. So I had to start to change my orientation and mirror my ideas around the fact that they are just people, they have special needs, and we need to put them in that particular context so we are able to address their needs. I hope to be able to impact this evening and generally just help us put structures in place that will help us in future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi. The first question will actually go to you, but I wanted Damilola to give us a little idea of what led her into thinking of what that particular thing, because last week you told us a few stories about your son and all of that, and about yourself and how you felt there will be a need for you to have a plan. But what was that one thing that made you think, you know what, it's not a feeling anymore, I need to make that move? What was that thing that probably scared you the most and made you do what you did about the trust fund set up for your son?
I know, remember last week I talked about my friend dying, and I'm sure Rotimi remembers when he died. It was such a blow for me.
Can you tell us, because some of our audience are actually new, they didn't watch last week, so can you just recap that for us, please?
Okay, sorry. Okay, so when I found out that my son was on the spectrum, I found out in March. It was in March 2018, And before that, the week before that, I had just lost my friend. And this is somebody that was very, very dear to me. He was like an amazing friend to me. And he had 2 boys. And, I just, like a wave just came about me. And I'm like, what if it was me? What have I set up in place for this child? I remember coming out of the therapy, the assessment center, and I sat down in my office, in my chair, in my car, and I was like that, oh my God, what would happen to this boy if anything happened to me? What would be my next step? I didn't have anything. I had literally nothing. And as a lawyer, that's even one story for another day, because as a lawyer I should have at least had a will, have a will in place, have something. I had absolutely nothing. And it just opened my eyes, to see that look, anything can happen any day, because this my friend was a young guy. Please, he was such a young guy, and it became clear to me that not only do I have to plan for my child, having a child normally, I had to plan for him specifically, because when you have a special needs child, there's so many rules and regulations. You can't use this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do something, you can't do, it became I had to adjust my lifestyle to suit him. And I needed something that would work for him, would work for this new lifestyle that we had in the house. You can't eat Maggie, you can't take NSG, you can't do this, I needed something that would suit his own lifestyle. And so luckily I had people like who throw my my troublesome behavior to like Rotimi. And then we sat down and we said, you know what? This is what we can do. This is how we can set it up. This is how we can have this plan for him. And we had a bit of back and forth. Don't get me wrong. It was not a smooth sail. So nobody should come in thinking, oh my God, it's just going to be nice and easy, because they will make you think. Because they are professionals. The whole point of them being there is because they can think what you didn't even think about. They will bring it up to your memory. They're like, oh, did you think about this? And you're like, I didn't think about it. Then you go back, and you sit down again. I'm like, oh my God, you start again from the beginning, restructuring all over again. And so I want people to come in here, listen to him, have your pen and paper, open your mind. It's important that you open your mind. It's not a one size fits all. It's a do what suits you, your family, your child, everything. Your child is different. No special need child is the same.
Right.
Some people are autistic. My child, for example, is autistic and has ADHD at the same time. It's not everybody that has that. So you need to look at what suits you. And I have another child, Some people have one child. Some people have 2 children on the spectrum. Some people have 3 children on the spectrum. Some people don't have any child on the spectrum at all, and they just have a child that is maybe lost a limb or something. So you have to. I would want everybody to please open their minds and hear what he needs to speak his heart, and he does this with so much passion. So hear him speak his heart. Have your questions, and then he would answer everything. I'll be here to. Don't worry, I'm here to be the instigator with him. I would poke at every hole for you guys. So please listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lola. I needed people to hear you talk about your own experience, so to say, so that. And then I like what I said, you will punch those holes because you've been there, done that. So whatever question does not seem right, or whatever answer you feel, no, you need to answer it this way. You're here to do justice to that. Thank you so much. And like we all heard Damilola say, please begin to think about your questions as Mr. Rotimi tells us about tell us about trust fund, because there's so much to learn. Really, I just did a little bit of study. I'm like, wow. I spoke with Damilola last week. I'm like, wow, everybody needs to hear this, particularly those children we're thinking, oh, probably when you're gone, they can't actually take care of themselves. This for me is it must hear for everyone. Thank you so much. So questions, please begin to put down your questions so that we have enough time to answer your questions. Now, Mr. Rotimi, could you please tell us what a trust fund is and how to go about setting up a trust fund?
Thank you, Lola. Now, the first thing I would like to talk about is a trust relationship. And a trust is a relationship between 2 parties that benefits a third party. So, for example, you come to me as the first party and you say, Rotimi, I want to set up a trust fund. You are the first party, I'm the second party. Now because you're the one creating that trust arrangement, we generally would like to call you as the settlor. The settlor is the creator. Settlor.
Settlor, okay.
Settlor, yes, is the creator of the trust arrangement. Now, because you have come to meet me, I am the trustee. I am the one that is going to manage that relationship, including the management of all the assets that you choose to put into trust arrangement. Now, whoever you have named or decide to name as a beneficiary becomes the third party. So you are the one setting up the trust arrangement. You are asking me as the trustee to manage that arrangement for the benefit of a third person, the beneficiary. Now, in creating the trust arrangement, you need to move assets to me to manage. Those assets can be in liquid form, they can be in real estate, or they can be in other forms of investments. Now, I'll take those assets and I'll manage it for the beneficiary. Now, for that relationship to get started, we need to first understand what the objective for setting up the trust arrangement. Now, for example, if we decide that it's supposed to be for the needs of a special person, now we can now say that you are creating a special need trust. So now we understand the objective for the creation. It is to attend to the needs of a third person with a special condition. Now, we need to now state under what arrangement will the individual benefit from the assets that you have given to me. You need to be specific, because as trustee, I will only act based on the agreement that we have entered into. So, for example, if you say that for this special individual, all the funds should be used only for medical, it implies that you cannot come and ask me to provide funds maybe for his educational needs. I will not honor it. So you need to be specific. In some instances, we advise that you make it broad. So what do I mean? I can include medical, I can include education. For some people that say education is very broad. Education is not just paying school fees. For what I've been able to identify, and Damilola will bear witness, a lot of people with special needs prefer some informal kind of education. They are very good at education. So when it comes to situations like that, we can also include that. So do you want, for example, piano lessons for a child with a special need? Do you want swimming classes? We can build all of those into education. So as in setting up the trust arrangements, there are a number of things that are clear. You need to ensure that assets are involved, which is the funding of the trust arrangement. You need to be specific as to what you want the trust to do, because as trustees, we will only honor what is in the document. Let me quickly add, so I do not spend too much time trying to define what a trust arrangement is. Every trust arrangement should be governed by a document we call the trust deed. The trust deed is the governing document. It's a legal document that gives life to the trust arrangement, that says that as the settlor, these are your rights and your obligations. And it also says to me, the trustees, these are the boundaries. You are not expected to go outside of this arrangement. You cannot do this with the funds I've given to you, and you cannot also meet the needs of a third party that has not been listed in the trust arrangement.
Wow, are you there, Mr. Rotimi? Hello, Mr. Rotimi, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I'm with you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Wow. I wanted you to go on, so I go like, is that all? I was really enjoying the lecture when I was taking down notes. I'm like, could you finish explaining all of that? Wow, thank you. I already have questions, really. I do have questions because when you talk about the trust arrangement, and like we did at the previous episode, I'm like, oh, trust arrangement. What about someone who is it only for the wealthy or for those who have assets? I mean, they have very high net worth and all of that. Could you also shed light on that also? Because all that you've said sound like it's for people who have assets and have liquid funds and all of that. How about that woman whose salary is just 50,000 basic minimum wages, or that woman in the marketplace who's actually selling Ankara and has some money? Who are those that should consider trust fund for their children?
Everybody should consider setting up a trust fund. And again, let me say that when you talk about people even in the lower spectrum, there are people in this country, Lola, if you agree with me, that save 5,000 on a daily basis, 3,000 on a daily basis, and they just put it in an informal sector. And if something happens to them, if nobody knows, it means that the collector of that fund simply goes on with the money. Now, combine that with an individual that, okay, you say maybe works in the civil service. If he or she has a special needs from his or her salary, that person is basically taking care of the needs of that special child. So a trust fund is not for any wealthy person. It's for an individual that understands the dynamics, that understand that this kind of structure favors a situation where you put an individual or an institution, preferably an institution, in charge of managing one or two assets or income that you have, such that if anything were to happen to that individual, the institution that you have asked to manage that trust fund simply takes over the responsibility of the child with special needs. So if, for example, you've managed to save 1 million, now within the period that this child would live, how do you want that 1 million to be managed? How do you want that child to be taken care of? Because the truth is, like myself and Damilola have realized, only you feel the pain. In 99% of cases, people with the special needs are the ones that really feel the pain. So if you are expecting an uncle or an auntie to step in and provide the same care and attention that you were providing before something happened, then you have just left that child to his or her fate. So only you understand the issues that are involved on a day-to-day basis. So because you are the only one that understands it, then you need somebody who will be able to also step in while you appoint a guardian to take care of the day-to-day running of the child. Now, a lot of us, so apart from the fact that I've clarified that trust funds are for everybody that seem to be able to save, whether it's 1,000 naira a day or 5,000 naira a day, a lot of us leave assets behind that we have not programmed our minds to who should manage them when we are no longer there. Damilola talked about a will when she started, during an introduction. Now you realize that a will, while it's an instrument for bequest, it has a lot of limitations. One of them is that there's no privacy in a will arrangement. Once your will is read, everybody knows what you have left. However, in a trust arrangement, that is completely missing, because a trust is a private arrangement between you and the person, I said the settlor that set up the trust arrangement. So if I have 3 or 4 children, I have one that is challenged. Do you think that the 3 other children will be able to take care of that one that is challenged? There's a particular case that we're currently managing in the office where we were appointed recently, and it's from a very popular family. I just will not be able to mention the name. There are 3 siblings. Their mom left properties for the 3 of them. However, one of them is challenged. so he needs constant medical attention. But do you know that all of his assets, one of the elder brothers wants to take all of them? Why? Because that child with a special need cannot fight for himself. So we've recently been discussing with them and telling them that move all the assets to a trust arrangement such that the needs of that special child can be taken care of. So in a trust arrangement, whether you have 1 million, you have 2 million, the needs of the child is paramount, particularly if you have other children that are sound, other children that can take care of themselves. So no matter the amount of money that you have, as long as there's a child with a special needs, for me, he deserves more attention, he deserves more focus than the other 2 or 3 normal children that you have. So irrespective of the funds that you have and you are looking at saving on a daily or monthly basis, the needs of the special child is paramount compared to the other children.
Very true. Even while, the truth is, statistics and research has shown that if it costs a family $1,000, for example, or ₦1,000,000 to care for a typical child without special needs, it will cost as much as 3 to 5 times more to care for that child with special needs. So it's just common sense to know that when you're planning a trust fund for another child, for a child with special needs, you need to really think of that also, that you have to take extra, you have to go the extra mile, so to say, to plan for that child. Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi. I'll ask you a question right now, and then the second question I want you, Damilola, to think about it, because I'm going to create a scenario like a case study and see how we can have everyone listen and find out ways to go about it. So the first question I have for you again, before this next question, is I've read and I've heard, even where we talked about estate management and administration, even when we talk about insurance, how do we access a trust fund organization? How do I know? Thank God that we're having this on the show. A lot of people out there might even want to do this, but they don't know how to access you. Or that market woman, like we just mentioned now, like we do our daily trips and all of that, and didn't know. Is there anything in place to say, look, these are options that you can have, and then things that your organization or the trust fund organizations are doing all around to ensure that people have the access to this knowledge and begin to take steps, knowing that it doesn't matter how much you have, you can actually provide set up a trust fund for your child, and then things in place you're doing.
Okay, so the biggest problem that we have, and I guess that all trust companies in Nigeria have, Damilola will attest to that, is knowledge. The knowledge gap is as wide as from here to Sokoto or from here to America in Nigeria, in terms of understanding, number one, that you can actually set up a trust. Number two, that there are institutions responsible for managing all of those arrangements. So in terms of, again, the knowledge gap, let me just give you an example. Do you know that if you have a child in America and leave assets for that child in America, you pay 60% of the total value as tax, about 55% in Canada, and 40% in the UK. Here, you pay 10%. A lot of us do not know all of this information. So number one, information is key. Now, to be able to address that, prior to COVID, we used to have live programs on radio, and we used to write a lot in the Punch newspaper every Thursday, just talking about estate planning, number one. Then number two, the tools that you can apply when it comes to structuring your estate. When I talk about estate, is it not just properties? It means, like we talked about, the woman that saves 1,000 or 2,000 on a daily basis. What happens to this 30,000 naira you save if you save 1,000 naira in a month, and about 360,000 naira that you save in a year. What happens when you are no more? What happens even when you become incapacitated? What happens when, if you are not able to stand up from your bed? Who do you want to be able to access or manage the funds that you have locked somewhere? Even if you have money under your pillow, so let's assume you have been able to save 2 million under your pillow. What happens to the 2 million? Who do you want to manage that 2 million? The truth is, and like we've seen, once the owner of an asset passes away without any form of structure in place, he has left more chaos after his death than he left during his lifetime. Lola, there are people in this country that have been fighting over their parents' properties for the last 5 decades. I'm talking of 50, close to 60 years, fighting over what did not belong to them. Assets that belong to their parents, because their parents did not put a structure in place, then they've been in court and they've not been able to decide how they should manage it. It's worse if you are from a polygamous family. However, we have also seen situations, and Lola knows it, where as a lawyer, she has had to contend with even families that are not polygamous. One wife, 4 children, they've been in court for more than 20 years, trying to decide. The assets are close to 2 billion, 4 children. If they share it equally, 500 million, they will never be poor in their life. But they've not been able to sort that out. So for 20, 25 years in some instances, they've been fighting. Lola, do you know the funny part? It does not even matter whether you are educated. So do me a favor, just check, participants can check on the internet. 2 professors, they've been fighting over their mother's property. It's going to 5 years now. Just type 2 professors fight over mother. So it has nothing to do with wealth. That Lola is laughing. It has nothing to do with education. It is just the way we as human beings, we are wired to fight over properties. So imagine if you have a child with a special need, where is that person going to start from? So it is important that, and so we do it on a regular basis. So occasions like this, if we're invited, again, we talk for free. I believe talking is the only way to helping people understand what can be done. We have presentations. If you want to take me to America or UK to do a presentation, I'm open to it. Apart from the fact that we visit organizations and institutions. So we do a lot of talking. We do a lot of conversations, one-on-one meetings, just to be able to open up the people's understanding that these things are possible, they are practicable, they can be done in Nigeria. You do not need to go to America before you can get it done. The laws in Nigeria are even still flexible and favorable when it comes to creating trust arrangements.
Thank you so much. You know, while you were speaking, I was just like, wow, wow. And this would lead to the next question. But I would want you and Damilola to do more like talk about this. So I wanted to create, because it's one thing from my field and my background. If there's no case study, then we're just speaking English. So I want us to just try and stimulate a case study where probably this market woman, or because I always want to use the people in the lower cadre, because it's easy for anybody in another, I mean, in any other of the cadres to be able to pick and align to however it suits them. And let's just say this person earns 50,000 naira, and the person walks up to you and say, look, this is my basic income, but I still want to be able to set up a trust fund for my child. What are the things, what are the possible questions, or what are the possible things the person should be looking at? So I want you to, both of you, come up in however you want to go about it. Probably Damilola will be the let me now go to the English you just taught us today. So somebody would be the You the creator of the trust, the set law. Okay.
Yes,
Then we'll have the trustee manager, who will be you, and then the beneficiary. Of course, we just assume probably I'm the beneficiary anyway. I'm the child right now. What what would it look like? And I'm trying. This might look funny, but we've spoken quite a lot now. Because I am a teacher, so I know what it means. Like, okay, you told us everything. How do we practicalize it? So let's go into practical with this and say, okay, you have 50,000 naira. This is what you should consider, and all of that. With your living with the 50,000 naira, what you should put together. Is my question clear, please?
It is very clear.
Please,
Very
can
clear.
we just
So
do something? Yes.
it's funny that you said that, because I remember there was one day I was driving home from my son from therapy, and I saw this woman. Her son was maybe at least 16 years old or 17 years old, and she was backing him on her back, like she literally was carrying him and putting him on her back. And me, I'm a crier. To me, I can cry easily. I parked my car and I wept. I wept because, yes, I did speak to her after that, but I wept because if anything happens to that woman today, that's the end. For her to back that child, it means that he can't walk, right? Because I won't back a 16-year-old boy, and he should be able to walk on his own.
True.
And so, Rotimi, today I'm that woman with my 16-year-old boy who can work, and I'm earning 50K, 50K, 35K ish.
35 to 50K, yes, basically.
35K is what comes to me monthly, sure, definitely.
Yes.
So let's plan my trust.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Lola, there's 50K that you earn on a monthly basis.
Yes,
How
sir.
much, in your own estimation, do you think that you spend in caring for your child on a monthly basis?
When I think about his medication and the physiotherapy that he has to do, I spend on a monthly basis about 35,000 naira.
Okay, so you're open to saving 35,000 naira on a monthly basis.
For him, yes. But remember,
For him,
I mean,
yes.
therapy while we're still alive.
Alive,
So how
yes.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
35K is what comes from my salary every month to him. I only have 15K left, and we have to still eat.
Out of the
Yes,
50.
I agree with you. Now, there are a number of options, a number of things we can do. Now, Damilola sits with us and decides that she wants to start a trust with 35,000 naira. Now, one other question is, Damilola, do you currently have an HMO plan for your child? There are a number of institutions, Damilola, there are a number of institutions that offer HMO services. Now, if you do the regular, go to the hospital
Okay,
today.
some people don't know what HMO is. Please, can you break it down?
Okay, so it's an health management plan where your organization or an individual signs up with the HMO. So, for example, maybe an IGEA and says that based on this plan, I hope I'm not advertising. Based on this plan,
you can trust them.
So based on this plan, because they have a number of plans, I'll pay you on an annual basis this amount, let's say 100,000 naira. And that 100,000 naira covers the following services. The services will be listed. Now, each time I go to the hospital, I do not need to pay because I have agreed with the health provider and I have paid the premium. So on an annual basis, once I am able to save, and the trustee takes up that responsibility. So we can look at that. So instead of Damilola on a month, on every time she goes to the hospital to foot the bill will be taken up by an healthcare provider. That's what we call an HMO plan. It's cheaper. It enables you able to visit the hospital as many times as you practically would want to, provided it fits into that plan that you are subscribed to. It's also cost saving because what the hospital will bill you naturally for a particular treatment with an HMO plan is the HMO that is dealing with the hospital. So it's cheaper for you to be able to take up a plan for that child. Now, when that is put in place, we now have to look at
sorry
the
to
other.
cut you. And anyone can whatever you're doing, as long as you have a regular income, you can actually also have an HMO plan.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, you can, because it's the same hospital. So it's not only institutions that can set up or meet an HMO and say we want to set up or I want to subscribe to an health plan. You can actually subscribe to an health plan by calling any of the providers. They'll give you the packages. They will tell you the treatments that are involved. They will tell you the amount that you need to pay on an annual basis. In some instances, you can negotiate with them to pay
Yes,
quarterly, half
exactly.
yearly, and I guess they also do monthly. So
Exactly.
I'll be speaking with Damilola and trying to find out from her if it's something she's open to, and I think that is something she would embrace. Now, once we get that sorted out, the next thing will be who takes care of this child when you go to work, because to earn 50,000 naira, you might think it's small. There are people that are not earning it. So maybe she has a nanny. Do you want to keep dealing with the nanny on a daily basis, or you want the trustee to step in and help you do that? If you say you want the trustee to step in, then the trustee starts to interface with the nanny. Or in some instances, there are institutions or organizations that provide professional nanny service. Yes, Lola.
Let me cut you a bit. You know, when Damilola came to you, she said to you that she earns 50,000 naira and she spends about 35,000 naira to care for her child on every service that the child needs. And we left with 15,000 naira. Now, we all understand from our basic knowledge that she's setting up this trust fund for when she's gone for the child. How does she survive on this 15,000 naira? I mentioned the part of surviving by having an HMO, and then also you're talking about the care of the child, right? This all that you're saying, that is it for while she's still, I mean, how do I put that now? The present and not for the future.
Can I
A
answer?
trust. Okay, yes, Damilola, please go ahead.
So what would happen is, the way it will work now is, because I'm now setting up with the HMO, my cost of 35,000 naira would actually reduce. Remember, the whole essence, like I told everybody, the whole essence of setting up a trust fund is seeing how it works now, so that when you're gone, you're comfortable. I don't want to have a trust fund that I cannot see how it. For someone like me, everybody knows my children and I are like this, inseparable, like literally. And so I can't imagine wanting to have a trust fund. I'm not seeing it work. I want to actually see it work. I want to see how the HMO works. So the whole idea is to see this and take a step back. And so I'm able to correct the mistakes. If anything is not hitting together or flowing together, I say, no, we have to change this. We have to do that. So that's the whole essence of setting it up now. Not and just say, oh, okay, I'm setting up for tomorrow, and you just leave it like that. And then, like he said, when I'm gone, the chaos now begins, and something is not hitting each other right. No. So the whole essence will be to reduce my cost also. So when I'm paying for the HMO, remember my 35,000 naira will drop.
Yes.
It will definitely drop because I can see it now. And what would happen is I will have some form of income that I can start to put in the trust.
Oh, right.
Towards where
Right.
I'm going. So for example, the HMO says, oh, come and start paying 10,000 naira for the services of 35,000 naira. See, that's a 25,000 naira gain. I can now start to say, okay, do you know what? 25,000 naira, rather than me keeping it, I need to buy Coca-Cola, I can put it into the trust and start to fund that trust towards my exit.
True.
So that's why all of this. So, the HMO there's no way HMO will not reduce your cost. It will clearly reduce your cost. And then that extra income that you have from that saving can go into something else. Yes. And remember, because the trust is there already, God forbid if there's an emergency, while you are there and you don't have the cash for that child, because you set up the trust of while you're using the trust at the moment, you're watching it work, even though you're not using any income from it, you can actually call on the trust and say, look, I have an emergency now and this child needs help. We need to call on the trust to save this situation. And so that will kick in.
Oh, great. Because I did a little bit of study and I know that there's some that are irrevocable, some and all of that. So I'm wondering if I'm keeping that aside, and I have a situation like what you just mentioned now, Damilola, what's going to happen? So this sounds very interesting and it's practicable.
Because a trust cannot run into perpetuity. The law doesn't allow anything to run into perpetuity. So there's no way it can be irrevocable. When they use the term irrevocable, it means that nobody can come and say they're trying to cancel it apart from the settlement.
Oh.
So it means that a beneficiary doesn't have power to do that. The beneficiary doesn't have anything, doesn't have the authority, neither does the guardian, who is the designated representative, to come and cancel the trust. That's why it's irrevocable. Someone says, what if Damilola was a petty trader? How will she be able to access a HMO? HMOs are for anybody, whether or not you are a petty trader or anybody. I'm aware that HMOs are available for as low as 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira. I think so. I think it's AXA months, and I'm not sure. But I know that if you do your research on HMOs, you will be able to find a plan specifically that can suit your need based on the income that you have. Because remember, in these days nowadays, everybody's an entrepreneur. Remember that. If everybody is. And what they've done is that they look at the new Nigeria and they've seen that, look, they have to set their ways in things that people will be able to afford. Your driver should be on an HMO, actually, according to the law. If you have more than a certain amount of people that work for you, these people should be on HMO. So your driver should be on HMO. Your nanny should be on HMO. And those are the plans that they have for people that will be able to, for a petty trader, there is no way she has some kind of income that she'll be able to put aside for her health reasons. Rather than going every day and spending another 1,000 or 2,000 naira, they have those plans. They have it.
Okay. Thank
you. Let me
add
quickly. Lola, let me add quickly that Omoro Giver talked about petty traders. Some of these petty traders save more than those of us that have regular income.
Very true.
Because they save on a daily basis. So I talked about the gap in knowledge, because a lot of people do not know that it's a possibility. A lot of people do not know they can take up HMO plans, like Damilola said, as low as 2,000 naira. These things are possible. So you just need to, even if you're a petty trader, find out from anybody that you think has gone to school more than you to say, how do I take care of my healthcare needs? So rather than resorting to traditional means, you can actually get quality healthcare if you sign up to an HMO. Now, if you're able to create a trust arrangement from the little that you have saved, the trustee can, on your behalf, speak with a particular HMO and get the best deal for you. The most important thing is that, like Damilola said, whatever trust you are going to create it while you are alive, so that you can see it work. You can make amendments. You can change and vary the terms and the conditions of the trust that you have created. What will just simply happen is that the trustee will update the trust deed. The trust deed is the legal document that binds the relationship between the settlor, who is the creator of the trust, and the trustee who manages the trust arrangement. So if, for example, I've set up a trust, I have 2 children that are beneficiaries of the trust arrangement. If I have a 3rd child, I must include that 3rd child. Recently, a very famous basketballer passed on, and one or two of his kids were not stated in his trust arrangement. They had to go to court to have that. In America is possible. In Nigeria, you have started another legal war. So it is important that even when you set up a trust today, you have to consciously ensure that the trust is updated when significant events happen in your life. The birth of a new child. You think that you want to change the sharing ratio or sharing formula. It's easily done in a trust arrangement than in a will, because of the issues that can come up in future when somebody says that. And there are just many. Somebody just stands up and says, my dad was insane as at the time he executed his will. There's nobody that would question the child's right to go to court. All of us can insult the child, rain abuses, curse him. His future will not be bright. He will not make it in life because he has sued his dead dad. However, he has just gone about with ensuring his fundamental human right is taken care of. So to be able to avoid situations like that, have a trust in place. Regularly speak with your trustee. Check your income level. Save as much as you can. If it's on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, watch the trust work. Ensure that the trustee is doing what you have asked them to do. Now, there's a third party that I did not include in that arrangement. It's called a trust protector. So, like I said earlier,
on that too. Go on, please.
Okay, so like I said earlier, you had come to me to create the trust for a beneficiary. Now, because you know Damilola so well, and you know that if something were to happen to you, Damilola would be able to take up the responsibility that you had before. You can name Damilola as a trust protector. What Damilola's responsibility is to ensure that I, as the trustee, carry out the assignment that I have been given, which includes making provision for the child with a special need. So Damilola can even sue me where I have deviated from the original plan. I can sit with Damilola in future and say, okay, see this child. The provision that was made for him initially was 50,000 naira monthly, but he's grown now to 18. His healthcare needs have not increased significantly. But as an 18-year-old child, there are some things that this child would naturally want to do. He also might want to feel, want the society to accept him one way or the other. So what would he like to do? Is it possible for us to take him out to watch movies? The trustee can arrange that, get a vehicle, put him in the vehicle, take him to a Ikeja City Mall. He will sit down and watch a movie like an adult would watch a movie. You might say, okay, let's take him to go and watch people playing games. So that child tend to now see that, yes, there's life outside just sitting down at home and playing and trying to make himself relevant. It might be that you want the child to travel abroad. However, during the lifetime of the creator of the trust, that did not happen. The trustee can sit with the trust protector and say, this was part of the initial plan of the settler. Can we arrange a visit to America? There's enough funds for that to be done. We can arrange a visit to America the same way you would have arranged a visit for a normal child. You can arrange a visit to Dubai. The child will have fun the same way a normal child would have had fun. So it is not a death sentence if there is a special need child that is involved. It is just ensuring that you have enough plans in place that takes care of the needs of that child.
Okay, good. I would also go back to where I caught in when you were trying to explain the process. So this Damilola has come to you. She has 50,000 naira, and she says 35,000 is what she can. We'll call that a premium or something. What's the word for that now?
So that is it for the HMO or for the trust fund?
No, so the trust that she can, okay, 35,000 naira.
So an initial setup fund. So let's say with a 35,000 naira as an example. Sorry?
25. Do we 25? Remember, I'm paying HMO for 10,000 naira.
So you started with 35. Out of the 35, we paid the HMO 10,000, maybe 25,000. Now that 25,000 is invested in a pool of other funds and earns a return. So let's say on a monthly basis, that 25,000 earns 500 naira. There are all scenarios we are painting here. That 500 naira is added to the trust fund. So at the end of the month, you have 25,500 naira. If there are no other needs to be taken care of, The next month, there's an additional 25,000 naira after we've paid again the HMO, if that's what we want to do on a monthly basis. So let's assume that we now have 50,500 naira. The 50,500 naira is invested and it earns, let's say, 1,000 naira. We now have 51,500 naira. Damilola comes and says, I need 2,000 naira to be able to take the child for the next treatment, maybe buy fuel and that stuff. We give 2,000 naira or buy fuel in the car or hire a car to take Damilola to the hospital and back home.
Yeah.
The rest fund is invested. The next month, additional funds come in. All of them are invested. At the end of the year, let's assume that we've been able to save 500,000 naira. There's an interest of 50,000 naira that has been generated. You now have 550,000 naira after all expenses have been taken care of. So the part that a lot of people do not like to hear is, are you going to do it for free? I'll say, no, I won't do it for free. So out of the 50,000 interest that I've been able to generate for you, you will pay me 10% of it, which is 5,000 naira. So 5,000 naira from the 50,000 naira that we earn in managing your trust. So that means at the end of the year, you now have 545,000 naira in your trust account. January 1st, 2021, we will start with that 545,000 naira invested in the trust, and it continues to run like that.
This is interesting, really interesting, because I remember having a discussion with Damilola last week, and I was speaking to a friend. I'm like, oh yeah, not bad, but how much, what are you going to pay them? Like, I'm sure there's something to it for the trust fund company. And this is interesting. I mean, is that a standard 5% of the interest or what?
It's 10% interest.
10% standard. Anywhere. Fantastic. So we'll go on a short break real quick.
I can only speak for the one I have. I don't know about any other company. I can only speak for mine, which is
the one.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for that information, because people have questions. They're not sure. All these things are sounding too good to be true. Are we sure? I remember. I'll make you laugh right now. So I was speaking to my a friend who is into insurance, and I said to him that I've had very bad experience in time past, and I remembered saving up my insurance for my car, and I said nothing happened to the car. So what happens to the money that I put all these years? And he laughed at me and said, "Look, there was a way he said that. Sometimes nothing happens to you." And then you're using your own money paid for that other person. Like, well, I'm not bad, but you're forcing me to do charity, But for this, I'm sure that, and I like the fact that you can, when you genuinely need something for that child, you can actually access it, and then it goes back again. For me, that's a fantastic plan. So we can go on a short break, and then we'll come back and take more questions. Please do not go away. It's a short break, and then we'll be back again to talk about setting up a trust fund for a child with special needs. Thank you.
D-Y-S-L-E-X-I-A. He'd give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. D-Y-S-L-E-X-I-A. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.
Welcome back everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Damilola, Mr. Rotimi, can we see your faces? Are you still with us? Your videos are turned on. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we've said quite a lot. I have learned quite a lot, and I know that our audience have learned. It's so interesting, you know, talking about estate management, talking about will, talking about insurance, and now we're talking about trust fund, and I'm like blown away with all the information. Let's quickly take this question before we go on with our discussion. So Ozema Ike is asking a question. Can a trust owner access the trust on a monthly basis? I don't know where that question is coming from. What can we?
Yeah, Lola, the money is yours. The arrangement you have created by yourself. The way a trust works is similar to the way you operate your bank account. The difference really is that you might not have an ATM card, or you might not ask somebody to go and withdraw money from the bank. However, it works the same way. You can set it up today, tomorrow decide that, Damilola, I'll come to you, decide that you do not want it again. You can access it anytime that you want to access it because you created it. That's how a trust. It's as simple as that. Anytime, give a call to the trustee. I want 2 million naira, 500,000 naira, 50,000 naira transferred to this account. The trustee will do it. So you can access the trust fund not only on a monthly basis, you can access it on a daily basis, as it were. Damilola.
Sorry, I would not support it. Sorry. Yes, you can accept, but I cannot support such because the whole essence of the trust, you know me now, the whole essence of having this trust in the first place is to keep money aside. It's not for spending money. It's not a spending money situation. Remember, the whole point is, what if I die today? Let's always have that at the back of our mind. Do I have money for my children? Do I have money for my loved ones? Do I have money for this person that needs this care, which I'm keeping this money aside for? Spend the money you have in your bank account, and please don't touch the trust fund. And that is unless there's an emergency, and it has to be a really good emergency, which is why I would say keep your trust fund as tight as possible. Like lock it properly, not for unnecessary things. I want to go and buy clothes and things like that. That's not what is on. Unless you are very rich, that's different. If you are like a Dangote or that kind of person, that's a completely different story. Then you can do your trust fund for anything you want. But if you're like me, I'm just struggling. Then you know that your trust fund there's an end. There's an end date. The end date is when I give up my life. That's the end date for me. That's when I can stop putting income into it. Unless you have your father's family or you have, some people have, inheritance from somewhere, and they will continue to throw in money into the trust fund, because yes, that can also happen. If you have an inheritance from somewhere that is throwing money into the trust fund, that's good for you. But unfortunately, like, if you have people like Rosimi and I, whereby we're counting our coins, I'm sure the last two, we're counting our coins.
Damilola, so Damilola, when it comes to talking trust, a lot of people get that's a major concern. Will I be able to access the structure that I've created? So you don't want to scare them away by saying that no, it's not possible.
I
It
think
is
it's
very
not possible.
possible.
It is
It's a,
possible. Why not?
so, but what
Yeah, it's not
Damilola
advisable to
said
just keep
is,
dipping into
even
it
though
every now and
Rotimi has
then.
said that it's easy, you can do it. The advice is because you have an end goal. What I
Yes, sticking
didn't
with that
add
goal.
is, guys, please listen very well. Once you put an object to the
Exactly.
trustee will only honor instructions that relate to the object of the trust. Let
Okay.
me give you a typical example. It is for the welfare and healthcare needs of a special child, for example, and you come tomorrow and realize that you are not able to easily access the
I think we
other
lost.
funds that you have in place. So you come and meet the trustee and say, I need 2,000 naira or I need 50,000 naira. Sorry, I think I'm out.
So let me
I'm
give a
sorry.
typical example. I can give a
Yeah.
typical example. So let's say you have this trust fund for healthcare and medical care for this child, and tomorrow you realize that okay, I need urgent funds for let's say as simple as I want to buy a ticket to London or even pay his school fees. Okay, yes, school fees. Let me use school fees. But remember, on the trust deed, you have this medical and healthcare needs. You will not be able to access those funds for education.
Because it's not what you
Despite the
put.
fact that it's for the same child, you would not be able to access those funds because you had not specifically said that education was part of it. If, however, you had put for education, welfare, and medical or healthcare and medical, then yes, you'll be able to access the funds. But it's so that's why I say it's important that you sit. You just don't. It's not something that you rush. You actually they actually take their time to do this trust deeds. It's not something that you just say, oh, I want everything to be done in one day. No, it's something that you take your time to think about. You think about every single thing, everything. The child needs therapy. The child needs this. The child needs that. You sit down. You coin it in such a way that it will suit you, not Damilola, not Lola, not Rotimi. Your child, your family, your interests. Like my son, for example, he enjoys math a lot. He's a mathematician, and for him, of course, thinking about coding. I'm thinking about robotics. I'm thinking about statistics. He's different from his brother. His brother just likes to play, enjoy himself, swim. That one is a posh child. So for him, they're not the same. I cannot think about the same thing for two of them. So for one child, I'm thinking robotics. I'm thinking coding. I'm thinking statistics. The other one is saying, I'm thinking
A lot of
swimming.
deep
That
thinking.
one wants to go and do ballet somewhere. Or so it's two different people. So for the structure of each child, even though it's the same trust, I would say for beneficiary A, please put money aside for robotics or statistics or coding because I don't know which one you will pick at the end of the day. For the second one, I will say, okay, beneficiary B, put money aside for swimming, taekwondo, running, anything that he wants to do regarding
Right.
him is different from the other. You can't put the same for each child because if tomorrow you went to the trust and said, "Oh, give me money for this second child for what we call this thing, swimming," they'll be like, "They didn't see it's there."
Not.
Yeah, sorry. And remember, you will not be there. Even while you are
True.
there, that's why it's important that while you are there, you see it work.
Set it.
And
Yes.
yes,
Interesting.
the system that they use other educational needs. Other educational needs makes it very wide. Then you can put educational needs, robotics is educational needs, statistical lessons is educational needs, coding is educational needs. Those are all, art lessons are educational needs. Those are things that now fall into that group. So you're not stuck. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, Mr. Everything was.
Yeah, so let me give a practical example, Lola, just briefly. Remember that one client that we had that the husband had created a trust arrangement and made it education of the children. However, he passed on midway. Now, to be able to access those funds, because he created it with his organization, part of the requirement was for the surviving spouse to approach a trust company and create a trust arrangement. And so they came to us and we spoke about the fine details, looked at the trust deed, we agreed the trust deed, and we signed off. And so they took it to the institution. Then the institution transferred money to us. When the money hit our account, we informed her to say the trust has been funded by the institution. And so she comes to us the next week and says, can I get 10% of that amount? And we said, why? She said she had made a vow to God that when she will pay tithe of that amount. Damn you, Lola. You remember? And we laughed. So we brought out the trust deed and looked at it. Fortunately, myself and Damil. So upon reading the trust deed again, we told her that we are sorry. There's no God as a beneficiary of the trust arrangement. Now, don't get us wrong. It does not stop you from doing anything you want to do for God. We are all believers. However, this trust fund is set up for two people, surviving children of the late husband. So we refused. And I tell you, up to today, 6 years down the line, that 10%, because we told her, go and look for money and fulfill your obligation, because you are the one that made the vow to God, and you are the one that will pay the vow. However, these children is specified, is for their welfare and education. When they finish school, you can talk to them later to take 10% out of the balance to go and fulfill your vow. But as of today, it is not just possible. That's highlighting how key the object of a trust arrangement is. We cannot go outside what you have specified as the object of the trust.
I wanted to give another scenario because we're all looking at it as, it's nice, husband and wife together, and everything is smooth in the family. Like I told you, I'm here to poke every single thing.
Now, please go ahead. We have quite a number of questions because we need to drive this home. We need to make it practical, something that we can actually hold on to and make it relatable. So please go ahead. We have quite a number of questions.
I don't know if you remember this other client that had this that was ill, and she had a daughter. And then she realized that upon her death, that they were going to pay her some amount. She was working in this really good organization, and they were going to pay her like this amount of money. Remember? And when she realized that she was going to die, she had cancer. She realized that she was about to die. She set up a trust and said that when they were going to pay her benefits from work, they should pay it into her trust fund. Now, this woman realized that her and her husband were not on good terms, and she realized that if the money had gone to her husband's hands, her daughter would not be taken care of. So what she did was put the money with a trust company, which was with Rotimi's team. And after she died, the husband walks into the office and says he wants to know the balance of the trust fund. And they're like, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm the husband." And they're like, "Okay."
Next of kin. I'm the next of kin. Yeah.
Exactly. He goes, "I'm next of kin," and they're like, He's like, that he wants to know. He said, but they look at the document like, "Are you a beneficiary? We don't see your name on the document." And he's like, he wants to know the balance. They're like, "Look, we're sorry. You can't even know the name of the trust, not to talk of the name of the balance of the trust." And that money there is a lot of money for her child. Like, it's such a huge amount of money that if she hadn't put that thing in place, I don't know what would have happened to that girl. I don't know how she would have paid her fees. And I want us to be as honest with each other as possible. Every day, all of you are all doing lovey-dovey together. Everything's all sweet in the company, everything's nice. Remember that, and just God forbid, the kind of person that your husband or your spouse is.
You need someone to put them in check. If your husband is, for example, like me, I'm a gadget person. I can use my money to buy all the gadgets in the world. It's possible. But that, it's if you have someone like me that doesn't even know when to stop. If you have a wife or a husband that doesn't know when to stop, this is the time to put a trust in place and say, look, there will be a trustee there that will put this person in check and say, look, excuse sir, this money is not. I'm trying to be as real as possible. It's the truth. I say, look, these children, you have a 5-year-old, you have a 10-year-old. There's a long way. They're going to university. Let's be honest with each other.
Planning the future of the children, very important.
It is increasing at every second in time. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's be honest. Onions, for example, the biggest problem of us mothers today is onions. Onions has increased in so much, Sorry.
That's okay. Hello.
Hello.
Go on. Hello, darling. Good to see you. Just go on, mommy. Don't worry. Just go on.
Onions has gone up. Nobody expected onions to go high as much as possible. So those are the kind of things that you never see what's going to happen. You just never know. So it's important that this structure is put in place. And while you're doing that, Rotimi is such a fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to. Rotimi is fantastic. He will do an inflation for you. He will say, okay, look, how much is your child's school fees today? You can say maybe 50K. Say, okay, with the way things are going now, inflation rate can go by 120%. Let's structure it that at that 50K plus inflation of 120%, this is the amount you're supposed to be looking at. Okay, what secondary school child you want to go to? Auntie Ayo secondary school. Okay, let's go to Auntie Ayo. Get the fees of Auntie Ayo today. He will do a structure for you. Looking at the inflation rate also and saying, look, 120% of the current Auntie Ayo fees and increase it for you. So you have a financial plan. You're not just planning in the air. There's something there's an amount that you're working with, and he will help you with that. And every day you get extra money. That day that uncle remembers you, Lola, and sends you $100. It's not for you to go and buy hair. It's for you to put in the trust. It's true. The extra income that you have every time, extra, income.
So it doesn't even matter. I have a question about what you said now. Even though I said to myself that I need to put down 25,000 probably every month. And then I get some extra cash that I want to put in. There's one that says I cannot adjust that. Is there anything that says that?
Let me explain. You can put money in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, in the midnight, next morning.
But there must be a baseline. There must be a set amount that you can't go below because of what you're already, because of the calculation.
No, you don't need. So where it comes to a baseline is when you are starting. When it comes to contributing on a daily basis, like Damilola said, or morning, afternoon, and evening, there's no base.
We can put,
and again, different insurance structure. If, for example, you say, I'll do 25,000 naira every month, and you skip 1 or 2 or 3 months, you are not penalized for it. It's a trust structure as this set law. You decide and determine based on the calculation, if you want us to help you with a calculation, what it is that you want to be contributing on a daily or hourly basis. That can be done. So you are not, you do not forfeit whatever it is that you are supposed to contribute if you don't meet your target. However, just know that the trustee will not be helping you to what there is where, for example, you want your son or your child to go to Harvard. The trustee will not help
you do what? Can you go back to, however, the trustee will not help you?
The trustee will not take out from shareholders' fund to be able to meet the, for example, school needs of your child. So if you say you want your child to go to Harvard and you have not done your computations very well, knowing that a course in Harvard is like $45,000. For a 5-year course, you should be looking at more than $200,000. If you multiply that by today's currency, you are looking at 80+ million. If you save only 6-7 million with us, the trustee will not add the balance because you have said you want your child to go to Harvard. No. we will sit down with Damilola
like
as the
where
trust protector and agree that the child should go to antenatal. No. It's not like insurance.
But if that is what is written, that means you can have a meeting, because if the person had, unlike the insurance that we talked last week, we talked about insurance where probably you said your sum insured, it should be this amount, and if something happens in between, you still get that full. I don't know how they do that calculation. We asked that question last week. But for this one, remember you said that all has to be agreed and written and it's a private document. And then the person had said, oh, this is the amount, and the person is this save up to that amount. What happens? Can the document now be changed or what?
So an amendment can be done to the trust document when you see
when the person is gone.
Yes. So the trust. So what would happen is we will not change that document. What will happen is, for example, I didn't put up to Harvard. I didn't put money into the account that would afford a Harvard. Definitely, I cannot. The trustee cannot fulfill that obligation because you haven't fulfilled your part of the obligation. So what would happen is there'll be okay, he can't go to Harvard, but he can go to
what's the next Harvard?
What's the next Harvard? It's Howard, similar to Harvard. It's Howard, yeah, that will not cost the same amount of Harvard. So the child will still can still go to America, or if you go to the UK, school abroad, but necessarily not at a Harvard at that point in time, because the fees at that point, there's no point sending a child to school that will not be able to complete the education. He must be able to complete his education. That's the whole system. And so, definitely, he will be able to go to another school, but not Harvard.
Thank you. We have quite a number of questions for you today.
Wow.
And I'm hoping that we'll finish exactly 90 minutes, but unfortunately, we have to run and we can't even finish soon. So let's look at this question. I know it has been answered somehow, but like I told you, some people need the practical thing, like tell us how it is. This is a question. Danny, can you please read that?
It says, is there a package that is fixed for a stipulated period where the client cannot have access to the fund until that time? Should I answer, Rotimi, or you answer? Rotimi.
I don't want to please go ahead.
Okay, so this is where the structure comes in place. So that's for you to decide. If you say, my children or my beneficiary or whoever cannot access the fund until their child is 23 or 24 or 25, yes, they can. If you say they cannot access until your death, yes, they can. It's up to you. So there are different kind of structures. There's different kind of structures how you want to plan. There's a family trust. There's a trust there's a testamentary trust that kicks in after your death. You can put it that way. So it's up to you. But like I said, because we're dealing with special needs, it's important that we see this structure run first. Then you can lock it up. Then you can say, okay, I'm changing certain things to me and not touch it anymore. But I would suggest, and this is me as a mother, as this mother to a special needs, saying, look, see how the structure works first. Because, today, the truth is that we don't know what schools at the end of the day. We're changing schools today. My child has changed schools 3 times, just to find the right, place for him. So it's important that we put this into consideration. But of course, you can lock it up for you. You can lock it up. But remember, the trustee would not give you any amount of money. God forbid there be an emergency because it's locked up.
Okay. Let's go to the next question.
Please go ahead.
Add to that, please.
Can I quickly add to say that it's not because the trustee is wicked. It's not because the trustee is wicked. It's because you have signed a legal document, which is called the trust deed. And in that trust deed, you have said, I will not access the fund in the next 5 years.
Okay.
If you come and access the fund and the trustee gives it to you, you can sue the trustee for breach of contract.
Sure.
So the trustee will not want that to happen. And so once you say this trust fund, I will not touch it over the next 5 years, you sign that agreement, the trustee takes it, it is stamped and registered, it becomes a legal document. The trustee will act accordingly, and you will not blame the trustee in the long run. So when you sit with us, we look at all the available options, and we can now decide, do you want to lock it for 6 months to test it, like Damilola said, or lock it for 1 year, or you want to watch it for the next 6 months before you decide on the lock period? All of these structures can be put in place with some caution.
Interesting. Thank you so much. The next question, Mr. Rotimi, that's for you. Are you able to read it?
The person my father chose as his protector. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. The person my father chose as his protector cheated us when my father died, and we couldn't do much. This was in South Africa.
Mr. Rotimi, there's a question that leads to this. Let's go from the beginning. Yeah, go on. This is the question.
How do you prevent the protector from becoming greedy after death?
Okay.
This structure is not a trust structure, I'm assuming, because a trust protector does not have any right to the trust arrangement. It cannot change, it cannot modify, it does not have access to the trust assets. I think that this arrangement is an executor type arrangement, which flowed from a will. With an executorship, what you have just simply done is that you have temporarily transferred the asset to another person. Technically, that executor becomes the owner of the assets. And based on the conditions of the will, he or she is expected to distribute the assets to the beneficiaries. So a trust protector, not an executor, does not have access to the assets that have been left behind. So if this particular person becomes greedy, it's because he or she is acting in the capacity of an executor. So how do I prevent that, which I think is the next question the person asked? Do not, please, do not, never, ever, ever, as much as is practicable, name individuals as executors to your estate. So I name my uncle or my brothers because I believe that they have been very good brothers. These brothers probably have not touched 50, 100 million in their lifetime. As executors, they become custodian of 100 million. Yeah, they will disappoint. So to avoid that, to avoid all of that, please name an institution as the executor or the trust protector of a trust arrangement that you desire to put in place. You know the beauty of putting an institution. Today, Rotimi is in FBN Quest Trustees. None of us know if Rotimi will remain there in the next 6 months. So what happens? However, the institution remains. Somebody will replace Rotimi. Your trust will continue to run whether Rotimi is there or not. That is the beauty of naming institutions as against naming an uncle or an auntie. Damilola.
Yes, remember I was going to go back to what you had said earlier about when we went back to the trust deed. So I'm just using this as an example. Whether Rotimi or Damilola is there at that point in time, what will happen is whoever is sitting at that desk has an obligation to go back to the trust deed. When that trust deed was set up for that man, we were not there. We were only there when she came up. So what because we don't know the details of the trust deed, we always, even the ones that they know, they will always go back and say, I don't remember the details. Let me go back and see. Is that part of it? Because it's that a trustee is bound by the fiduciary obligation to ensure it fulfills that obligation and does the duties and rights as they are stated in the trust deed. And so it cannot on no grounds that individual. Sorry, excuse me. You might have to join us for a second.
That's okay.
Yeah. That individual cannot, for any reason, come out and say, "Oh, I'm going to go out of it." He cannot. So that's the difference between a trust protector and an executor. Yeah.
Okay. So someone, thank you so much for that. Thank you. This is so interesting. I actually going to have a part B because there's so many questions. There's another question. I think anyone can answer it.
I'm open to it if it's fine by you and the participants. I'm
Fantastic.
open
We are
to
all
it.
enjoying it. There's so much. There's a lot of questions. So this says, is it compulsory for a trust owner to make deposit to the trust fund account every month? Depends on you. Well,
No, it
I'm not
is
a
not.
strategist.
No, it is not. So that's the difference between a trust and an insurance. You must understand what your needs are. Then you'll be able to structure a funding plan. Now, if you miss that funding plan, again, you are not penalized because it is your arrangement. It is what you decide that you want to do. However, you might not just be able to meet what the obligations are in future. Again, going back to the example of you wanting to send your child to Harvard, if you have not properly funded the trust arrangement, the trustee will now have to do with what you have. Damilola said that Harvard is the same thing as Harvard. So most important thing is ensuring that the child goes to a school.
Interesting. So this has been so enlightening, like it's an eye-opener to a lot of us. And then audience, please, if you have any question, please post. We have barely 10 minutes to be done, and there are quite a lot of questions. So I don't know how we're going to do that today. 10 minutes to be done. Someone says, is there any fix? Oh, we've done that question. Now, you talked about that the asset could be liquid and in any form, properties and all that. How do you, so if I had properties, for example, and I'm thinking this amount I want per, how do you convert all of that to make sure that I have a regular, how does that work? Because I know that you can actually use, like you said, when you were defining what a trust fund is, how does that work? If probably I have enough liquid cash and I add a certain amount I'm looking to probably put it down for the trust monthly or something.
So there's always a structure for all estate plan. And this will take us to talking a lot more because of issues around transfer of assets. So I'll make it as simple as possible so that if we have an opportunity, we can speak to that. Now, you can make an arrangement such that the trustee collects rental income or your tenants pay rental income directly into the trust. So when rental income comes into the trustee holds it, invests it. Whenever you need money, you make the request and the trustee honors that obligation. So that's another way that you can fund your trust arrangement outside putting what you have currently in your bank account.
Interesting. This was supposed to be the last question, but let me ask it, then we'll go to the other two questions before we go on. So someone says, how do I reach, because I'm going to put this out there, that they need to, we might not be able to finish this today. We'll think of having a part B sometime soon. But then if we need to reach you, is it okay for you to please leave your contacts on the platform? I'm sure, Mr. Rotimi, you're following Lola Aneke and I think Cadet Academy. Is it okay for you to leave about your social media handle or a contact that you can be reached on? If you don't, if it's not in, I mean, some people like to leave they like being private, but for this, we need more guidance and mentorship from you.
I would leave it up to you. Lola, yes. Lola, I'll leave it up to you to decide how much exposure you want to give to me. But I'm open to anything you so much.
So we'll actually put that out. Damilola, is that okay by you also? Can parents reach out to you?
Okay. Yeah, I guess
because so. I know a lot of people have more questions. They want to speak to you. They want to get more information, and that leads me to the. Thank you so much, Damilola. Thank you so much, Mr. Richmond. Thank you. Bye. That leads me to the next question. You know, you said, so let's go back to this. What if you said you should name an institution as the custodian of the trust? What was that? What you said?
As your trust
arrangement.
What if, these are two questions in one, what if something happens to the creator of the trust and the what do you call beneficiary at some point? Listen, if something happens to these two, what's going to happen? And then if something happens, if the decision falls up, what's also going to happen?
Me? Who? Which of us?
Do I do the one I think is the simpler one?
We don't know because we need to know what's gonna happen.
Okay, let me do the simpler one, which is I think that what happens if the institution goes down or goes under. For example, FBN Quest Trustees is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And so the way we have structured, the way we structure our trust arrangement is such that clients' investments and clients' assets are never invested in risky assets. And so even if FBN Quest Trustees go down, the assets of our clients will remain intact. So if we choose to invest in fixed income instruments, federal government, Nigerian federal government instruments, if FBN Quest Trustees go down, your funds still remain in the Nigerian government fixed instruments. Now, what SEC will do is that SEC will step in, take all of the trust assets and hand it over to another trust institution. And that institution, taking the trust deed from FBN Quest Trustees, we continue to run those trust arrangements. We've had situations where a number of trust companies went under. Time past, we had trust companies like Oceanic Trust, AfriBank Trust, Trustees, but these trust companies are no longer there. However, whoever had trust structures with any of them, those structures would have been moved. Some of them moved towards FBN Quest Trustees. So a trust structure can only and should only die upon the fulfillment of the object of the trust arrangement. Yes, once the trustees have played their fiduciary part. I think that Lola is a bit distracted. So let me keep talking until she comes back.
No, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
here.
So just take, so the assignment you have is to see what happens if the settler passes away and if the beneficiary also passes away.
Please, let's know.
Remember that there are three parties to this trust deed. In the trust deed that is mentioned, there's the trust protector, there's the settler, and the beneficiary. If anything happens to the settler and the beneficiary, the trust protector is there. And he has the duty to, first of all, inform the trustee and say, look, the trust protector, the settler has died and there's a beneficiary. In the trust deed, what happens in trust deed, it also takes that into consideration and says, perhaps the beneficiary dies or something happens to the beneficiary. This is what should happen to the monies that are in the trust fund. Those are things that are put in the trust deed as to speaking to that information. So the money will not just sit in the trustee. Rotimi will not sit with your money. Rotimi will not sit with your money. Your money will be used according to. So if you say, okay, give it to another beneficiary of mine, and you list somebody or a charity, you could even have a charity or someone that you want that money to go, because the money cannot stay there in perpetuity. It will have to keep rolling over and rolling over and rolling over. Some people consider their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. You know, a lot of people think of all sorts of things that if my child becomes 40, he no longer needs the trust deed now. He doesn't need trust fund anymore. He should be all right. And so they will start to pay my grandchildren's school fees, start to pay my great-grandchildren's school fees and things like that. So those are the kind of things that would be put into consideration. It won't just run. It won't just run. No, it won't just run.
Great. Good to know.
Just to add, Lola, just to add, that's the beauty of a trust arrangement, like Damilola has said, as against having maybe a bank account. With a trust arrangement, whatever structure you have put in place continues to run to meet the object for which you have created that arrangement. But if it's a bank account, they have to go through probate, they have to pay the necessary 10% and all of those stuff, which does not take place in a trust. So maybe next time we'll be able to talk more on some of these key areas.
Wow. We're definitely doing this again. I had a good time. just one question, because I usually do my research before I come up to speak and invite you all up. I know reading up, and I know that things doesn't work the same in this part of the world as it works in developed countries. You know, you were saying something about getting a financial advisor, but from all that you've said, before you can work with a trust organization or a company, from all that you said, you guys are actually the advisor you are. Because maybe I am not. I mean, I have not signed up with you, but I'm already like, oh wow, they'll tell you this, they'll ask you all of that. So why do I need a financial advisor? So how does that apply in this case?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
So FBN Quest, when you look at the whole FBN Quest as a group, FBN Quest is a financial institution as a group. We have everybody. So I'm not trying. I'm not trying to
yeah, because
blow the
all that you're saying to be answering all the questions. Okay, yeah, so
we have everybody there, but especially with the FBN Quest Trustees team, there are lawyers and there are financial advisors that sit in that team as its own team. And so when they look at it from end to end. It's a process flow. It's not just one person, the lawyer just speaking in terms. At a certain point, when the lawyers finish talking to you, they say, hold on, we need to speak to our financials, our treasurer, our investment people to see how this would actually work and how it will actually play. So there's a link. It's not just a team of people just talking and things like that. Like I said, Rotimi here. By the time he starts to plan for you, you'll be like, wow.
We're holding you tight, Rotimi. We're holding you really tight. You already get your contact online, so expect calls.
You know, Lola, you know, the beauty of working with people like me on certain transactions is the fact that you get to meet people with diverse background and cultures, and so it opens you up. And like I said earlier at the opening, I used to think that every child that is challenged is disabled or handicapped until Damilola schooled me on that subject. So when you meet people with open minds and you see on a daily basis different things happening to you, then you get to understand that people need this service, although knowledge is far, like I earlier pointed out. However, a lot of all of this have happened because you've related with people from different backgrounds. Damilola is a lawyer, so she knows every single bit about law and all of that. But again, you are working with people that are in investments, people in risk management, people in operations, people in compliance, and you're also working with traditional business marketers. So all of this put together gives you a better understanding of how you be able to instruct and advise people. Like Damilola said, FBN Quest Trustee itself is an institution full of advisors, despite the fact that they have different divisions and units. So you are sure that if you step into FBN Quest Trustees, you are dealing with the entire bucket and not just one or two individuals.
Good to know. So good to know. Thank you so much. This has been an interesting episode. I wish we could go on and on and on. We're definitely doing this again. Damilola, you're coming up again. I'm thinking, this one I was thinking, maybe she's going to be my co-host when it comes to topics like this, because I've learned so much from you in the past few weeks. And there's so many things we need to talk about these children, their families. We're thinking of legal guidance, and I'm sure you have one or two things to say when it comes to legal guidance for children with special needs, So we're going to invite you over again. Mr. Rotimi, you're a member of the house. So anytime we need free consultation as to what to do when it comes to risk management, financial, when it has to do with these children, please open up your door while we knock. Please pick our calls. Once you just mention from Lola Aneke, please, I beg of you, sir. Or from the show, please, you're on the show. Please oblige us, please. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate you. This has been an interesting episode for me. Each week, I keep saying this is the best. I don't even know which one is the best so far, but this for me, I think has been really interesting. I want to thank you for bearing as it is. Damilola, you are just the best. Thank you, because I particularly appreciate, because you're a parent of a child with special needs, and you understand what parents go through, and you can actually cross from one social economic background to the other. Thank you for keeping it real. Oh, Mr. Rotimi, the perfect gentleman. You know, he was talking so gently, but he was hitting the nail on the head. I'm like, let me tell you something. Listen to me. It doesn't mean that. I'm like, very good, very good. Thank you so very much, Mr. Alex. Thank you for signing. It's been a beautiful evening, and I want to say thank you to everyone. Ozioma, for everyone that has joined in. Thank you. Let's take this knowledge out there. Remember, Mr. Rumtimi said that there's not enough knowledge when it comes to this. Let's keep talking so that we can make the world a better place for individuals, especially.
One more thing. I found out on HMOs that you can do 20,000. I think there's a minimum. I think there's 20,000 naira a year for HMO.
Wow,
yeah. Yes, actually was researching as we were talking. I forgot to add that part. So you see, it's possible. I saw something as low as 3,500 naira a month. So it's possible. It's very possible. So let's not
so it's not about the very wealthy or those who have properties, all of that. There's something for everyone. There's something for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. And it's bye-bye from me. Have a blessed week, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
DYSLEXIA, he give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets he won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. DYSLEXIA, he give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.